Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm here to help you get started with quilting. We are going to go over a few things today that you might need to start quilting at home. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about myself to start off with. When I was little, my mom used to sew, and she would make us dresses, and once in a while she would make a quilt. And I remember several times her taking quilts over to a friend of hers to get the whole quilting it all together. However, as I grew up, it wasn't ever something that I wanted to learn how to do. When I was in college, I started working for my boyfriend's parents, and they owned a repair and cleaning place that repaired and cleaned firefighters' clothing. And so we had a whole bunch of industrial sewing machines. What I did was, I was a math major, and so I did the books, but I kind of got into the whole sewing thing then. I would watch these ladies, and they would do all the seams on their jackets, and they would fix the holes, and they would change the closures on the front of the coats. And that was about the time that I started thinking, hey, I think I could get into this. I think I could start sewing. And so my mom gave me my first sewing machine. This is not my first sewing machine. That's a really long story. It got lost in a move. I had a beautiful FAF machine. But my point with this story is I was a very broke college student, and you don't need a lot of money nor a lot of things to get started. I started out with super basics. So we're gonna go over super basic, and then I'm gonna go over a few other things that I like to use now that I've gotten into it a little more, that are super helpful and super nifty. The truth is, there's all kinds of things out there, and you could get lost in going, oh, that looks nice. Oh, that looks nice. And we just need basics, right? So, of course, the first thing you need is a sewing machine. With the sewing machine, it needs to be able to do a straight stitch, because pretty much quilting is straight stitching. You need thread. I like to buy mine in the cone. I pretty much piece all of my tops in white. I know there's a lot of people that don't. You don't have to, but it's nice. You can buy it in the cone, or you can buy it in small little thread like this that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Walmart or any of those places. Next, to do with your sewing machine, you need to make sure that you have extra needles, and a little tip here, extra bobbin. If you wind a whole bunch of bobbin at one time, you don't have to stop to rewind your bobbin when you run out. So I probably do 5 or 6, and then I thread up my machine and we start going. Extra needles and a sewing machine. So that's what we need. You also are gonna need some sort of cutting board. This one is massive. It is 23 by 35. It's a really nice size. I think I started one that was like 18 inches by 12 inches. It was fairly small. I had a little apartment. You need a rotary cutter. This will help you make straight lines. It has a nice round blade, and that's the next thing, extra blades. Make sure you have extra blades. Seam ripper, because hello, sometimes we make mistakes. And scissors are always nice. I usually carry around a little pair. I can't seem to find them right now, of course, that I keep near my sewing machine that I cut threads with, but a nice, good quality pair of sewing scissors. Now, there is a difference between sewing scissors and other scissors. Do not cut paper with your sewing scissors. It will dull them. These are a little more expensive, But if you get a decent pair at a regular store, just don't use them on paper because that will completely mess up you with your sewing. And I have pins. I don't usually use pins, but they're always nice to have. And last but not least, oh, well, I guess we have a couple more. A nice size ruler. This one will go the whole length of a fabric bolt, and I've had it so long that probably some child knocked it off my table and broke it. But you need a nice straight edge so you can square up your fabric and you can trim it to the right sizes. On top of that, you need some sort of ironing board, an iron, because you want to iron and iron and iron to make sure everything's nice and flat. And of course, the last thing is you're gonna need fabric. Some quilting fabric can get a little pricey, but if you look for sales at Hobby Lobby or Joann's, you can start off fairly cheap. These are the things I would say are essential to get started. However, I want to show you a few more things because I feel like they make life a lot easier. So to go with my sewing machine, I have a couple different, this part down here is called the foot, and I have a few different ones. Normally you'll get one, something similar to this. Sometimes it's metal. This is fine, okay? However, I have 2 feet that give me an exact 1/4 inch because we sew with a 1/4 inch in quilting. And so this one, I don't know if you can see it, just gives me a nice 1/4 inch right here. This one actually puts, let me see if you can see it. See the edge right here? It puts an edge on it. So I can just butt up my fabric right there and run it through, and it makes a nice 1/4 inch. Next, as for rulers, I like having a few square rulers. I bought these in a pack at Walmart. I think I actually found them on clearance years and years ago. But small ones, big ones, because we're gonna be squaring up our blocks at the end, making sure they're nice and square so they fit nicely into our quilts. As for other rulers, I'll show you a few other ones. Some of these I haven't even used. I think my mom gave me some of these because she's totally a quilter now. This one is a flying geese one. This one is another one that I personally have dropped and managed to break off 2 corners. It's for half square triangles. I'm gonna show you specifically how to use this one. Oh, and this one, I promise. This one is a pineapple. It's for the pineapple quilt block. So we're not getting too fancy that yet. This one is a 60-degree triangle. I haven't used this one, and I haven't used this one either, but this one is for a Dresden plate. Maybe these will be something that I'll attack later with you. For ironing, I started off with a regular iron and my ironing board. In fact, I had one of those little ones that went on the table. It was fine, but when you get a whole quilt put together, it kind of is difficult. So a big quilt or a big ironing board is great, especially for the end. However, I have a few cool things. This one has a cutting board on one side, and by the way, you really need a cutting board. A cutting mat is actually what it's called, because you don't want to put holes in your table. And on the other side, this looks really bad because I've used it so much, and from the iron it's discolored it, but it has an ironing one. So it's very portable, super easy. If you're like going on a road trip or going in a camper or something, this would be a perfect thing. This is called Quilter's Cut and Press. So you can cut it, flip it over, and press it. This one is a newer one that I got. I've heard a lot about these things. I think it's good. I don't think it's great like they claim, but this is a wool ironing, and I just stick it on my table. I worry about it messing up my table because all of the steam and the hot air go through and onto my table, but I haven't noticed anything yet. However, once my quilt blocks get too big, or I start putting together the quilt, these are both way too small. I just need my ironing board. I think that's it for right now. These are the things that I feel like are great to start out with. And I hope that this is helpful.